views and opinions you are about to hear are of the hosts and do not reflect the management of CaveRadioBroadcasting.com.
Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, August 11th, year of our Lord 2016, and you are listening to Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm Howard. I am joined by my good friend Dave DiBiase, and we got Kenny back in the seat.
Yeah, I'm back.
After a week vacation.
I went to a show.
You went to a show? What show did you go to?
I went to go see The Infatuations, which are good friends of Cave Radio.
I love The Infatuations.
And they opened up for a band called Here Come the Mummies.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
It was
Good
really
time?
Good. Oh, it was awesome.
Cool.
I've heard of Here Come the Mummies. I haven't seen them yet, though. What do they play?
It's like a funk
Okay.
to it.
Okay. Yeah, I also happen to be real good friends with The Infatuations. Me and Christian go back like a million years.
Oh, nice.
I do a lot of their promo, print most of their stuff. He is a very good man, Christian Draheim. So, DiBiase.
What's up, man?
What's new, brother?
Lots of stuff.
Well, tell me something fun.
Well, what do you want to know?
Well, I guess we got a big unveil. We got a few minutes to kill here, so we can
do.
talk about something that is very important, very close to both of our hearts.
Yeah, well, it's I think because of your undying efforts, I think we can go ahead and tell the story and throw the website out there and get people looking at it and thinking about it.
Nice.
So all three of our listeners
Remember,
today.
it is mobile friendly.
And it is mobile friendly because I proved it on my
because I stayed up all night making it
enslaving iPhone that I have, and it works great, dude. It's really fantastic. We were kind of maybe getting ahead of ourselves because we're excited, but
we're excited about what we're going to do with it.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start. So the way I want to just call it the efforts, right? That you, myself, my family, all the people kind of in our little
absolutely
little our big extended family here kind of started when we lost my brother 2 years ago, and my mother came up with the idea. Last year would have been the first summer since he passed, but he was murdered. She wanted to have a party like in his memory, and then pick a charity, right?
Right.
And anything we raised from the party, just from free donations. We didn't charge for the party. We, upped all the, put up all the food and all the thing, and it turned out great, And she picked,
it was a lot of fun.
She picked a really good charity. It was that Pause for Patriots. Yep. I'll go ahead and plug those guys because they're doing awesome stuff.
Great organization. And Tony was a huge animal guy. And
a big dog guy. I mean, he loved his dog. It was like his kid. And there's a whole backstory behind that, too, which led to her choosing that charity. And it worked out really great. We raised like $4,000 for them. They were able to get a dog and train this thing, and eventually it will be assigned to a veteran lost their eyesight in the war.
Incredible foundation.
Fantastic, right? Yes. And it worked really great. So what we were going to try to do is every year we were going to maybe stick with the same charity or maybe pick a new one every year to kind of, spread it around a bit.
Right.
Not your typical wealth redistribution, which sorry, I can't help it. Anyway.
You know what they call it, the March of Dimes, right?
Well, okay. So, in kind of trying to decide what to do this year, because she wants to do this every year, and I think this is a fantastic idea. Something kind of occurred to me, and this kind of starts from something that happened to me 3 or 4 years ago. Anyone who knows us knows that our wives are from the Philippines, from the same town.
Yep.
And we try to go every 2-3 years if we can. It's very costly, and it's not easy to do, but we do it because all her family's there.
Trip is grueling.
You have to put yourself into this like apathetic trance where you don't care about anything, and just let it go by. And this is even harder with small children.
Yeah.
But it always ends up going okay. It's all right. It's just 30-hour ordeal, right? Yeah. But that's the only way she gets to see her family other than like FaceTime and the computer. So, it's cool. Well, we were there at an odd time because most of her friends and some of her family they're school teachers, right? Mm-hmm. So if we go there when school's in, she doesn't get to see anybody until they're off work, and some of them actually,
Right.
like her brother lives and he teaches in Thailand. So if he's teaching, he's not home, she doesn't get to see him. So coordinating the trip, but we were there while school was in. So like they would going back to school while we were there. And I remember, one day going outside in the morning and they have their routine, right? We have coffee, instant coffee, by the way, which is
Nescafe, instant coffee.
It took some getting used to. It reminded me of my childhood, so it's kind of cool. It's a little throwback.
Girly can make that stuff taste
Hey,
like
man.
Tim Hortons, man.
I just drink it black, and you get used to it, and as nasty as it is. So you have coffee and you have bread, right, for breakfast. This is typical. And I was out there having coffee and bread, and I noticed there's these kids playing around in the alley. And I asked my wife, Grace, I said, why are those kids not in school? Being the truant officer, I guess.
Right.
Or truancy officer. Anyway, she says, well, those kids don't get to go to school. And I was like, excuse me? She says, no, they don't get to go to school. I'm like, what do you mean they don't get to go to school? Like, this is something this is something we don't understand. Because
heck, if I was their age, I would have been jumping for joy. I don't get to
maybe,
go to school.
right? I mean, at that age, they're young. They think they probably want to go to school because young kids actually like it.
Right.
But there's nothing in place to make sure that these kids get to go to school, right? So it really bothered me.
What was stopping them from going to school?
Money. They can't afford the fees.
So the schools are private?
They're public. Now, we can go into why it's like this. It's just how it is there. There's no laws that make it so kids have to go to school like it is what we're used to here.
Okay.
Like if you don't send your kid to school, like pretty soon someone's going to want to know what's up, right?
Yeah.
It's just not like that there. So if the kids don't go to school, they just don't go to school. Whatever. So there's a lot of adults walking around with 4th grade, 5th grade education.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's just totally fine. I mean, it's not fine, but it's that's how it is.
Right. It's not out of the ordinary there.
So, it kind of was, and this is where here, in the U.S. and Europe and anywhere that's and I hate to use these labels, but like, the developed world, right, which is maybe an oxymoron, but whatever. We're not used to the idea that people are so poor that they literally can't afford to do things like send their kid to public school, not private school. Because I can't afford to send my kids to private school.
Yeah, me either.
But again, public school, it is paid for except for a small portion, which I tend to agree with, but without making this a political thing. They can't afford it. They can't swing it. So it just, and this was, a few years ago. This is before I even lost my brother, before any of this happened. And it's always like, why can't we need to kind of do something about this. We should do something about this because if you have a whole, now generations now of people that are literally uneducated, and I'm not even going to go into whether I agree with everything.
And if they, if you ended up being one of those kids who didn't get educated, you're not going to put the emphasis on education as a parent when you have kids, and they're all going to have kids there.
Well, and there's as we talk about on the show all the time, there's things at work here that will absolutely prey on people like that because, especially, let's say if you're illiterate, you can never find the truth. You just hear what someone is saying is the truth, and you can literally control a whole population like this, and they do.
I think there are populations controlled by that.
Exactly. And it makes it very easy if everyone's victimized.
Right.
So, it's always been on my mind. It really bugs me. I didn't like it, and I felt bad because, these kids have no choice in the matter, right? They don't have any choice in this. Right. And everyone, you can go through and analyze it. And, why are you having kids if you can't send them to school? I don't even want to go there, dude. It's not even the point.
Yeah,
it's not even the point. The kids are here. They're there. And if you have... How can anyone expect that? And now, again, I don't agree with everything they push in school and everything they teach in school. This isn't about curriculum. It's simply, if you don't even have the basic education, how can we expect anything to improve on the street level?
Right.
So,
Well, you're looking at the product of a Canton education and a Wayne Westland Livonia education. We turned out okay.
According to some people. But, so anyway, that is, that's been on my mind. So I had this idea, and I ran it by my mom, and she's cool with it. So, kind of taking a step back to kind of give a little background. my brother and I had this idea, and you helped us with a lot of it, to start a business. He did a lot of custom leather work and would make motorcycle seats, and really talented guy.
Incredible stuff.
And I can airbrush, custom paint, graphics, and metal fabrication, all the stuff. We were trying to start like a company that would sell or do custom work mainly aimed at custom motorcycle market. But we would pretty much do anything. Guitars like the guitar I did for you, and hot rods, doesn't matter, anything. Portraits, canvas work, we were kind of all in. Well, that obviously got cut short when he was killed, so I had designed a logo for him, and then you helped me with to digitize it, and it's sweet, and we had a name, it was DCD, which was DiBiase Custom Designs, obviously named after him, because it was his idea, and he liked the logo, and everything was kind of cool, and then, that it didn't work out, and I tried to continue it, but it just wasn't the same, and I kind of just abandoned it, and I'm just like, it's just not the same. It's just not like it was. So I said, how can I keep this? I mean, I put the logo on my friends' motorcycles, and it's still kind of I use it for just like personal stuff.
It's on the headstock of my guitar.
Exactly, it is. So, I said, what can we do here? I had the idea. I said, just clicked in my head. I said, why don't we just start our own charity? We'll build our own nonprofit organization and provide an avenue, a mechanism to provide funds so these kids can go to school. Because no one else is doing this. And I thought of a lot of things, right? And we could provide food, water, medicine, this kind of stuff, and these are all really cool things. It's not that they're not, but the way I tick is like, why wouldn't we try to arm these kids with something where they can provide this stuff for themselves?
Teach them to fish,
basically, right? Mm-hmm. So that's when we adopted the logo to the foundation and got the ball rolling, and now what we have is the DCD Foundation. And we have ties in the Philippines that are gonna help us facilitate this.
Solid boots on the ground over there.
And we're going for it, man. I mean, it's to the point now where we have thanks to Mr. Howard and his hard work that he's put in here, we have a live website, thedcdfoundation.org. It's also mobile friendly.
Yeah, very mobile friendly.
It works on my iPhone. It's awesome.
We want to make it convenient for you to give us money.
Totally. And you can go there, check out the site, read it through. I kind of gave,
everything's on there that explains what we're doing.
Yeah, the synopsis of the story, but it's all on the site. There's a donate button that's only PayPal at this point. It makes it easy for my wife, who's going to be, I've nominated her as the CFO, whether she likes it or not.
Well, she's good with numbers.
She's really good, and with money, she's
and the good
awesome.
news is, at least on the mobile site, I did not check the internet site, but at least on the mobile site, looks like you have an option to use a credit card or PayPal balance.
Through PayPal, you can.
Yeah, so you can use a credit card through PayPal. So
yeah, pay with card or pay with PayPal.
So if you want to give more than you have, we're cool with it.
Right.
Feel free to up it.
Of course, right now it's under construction. Not the website, but the foundation. So we're not 501c3 exempt yet.
Not yet. We'll get
there. But if your motivation is tax exemption, then maybe we can't help you. It's not what this is about. But anyway, that's kind of what we got going on, and it's like it's getting a life of its own all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The church.
Everybody I talk to is very excited about. We've got some organizations that are interested in potentially helping us out.
Absolutely.
We're very blessed. One of the positives, and I hate to say it this way, but there have actually been many positives that have come out of the tragedy, which was Tony's untimely death. But one of the things I am so thankful for, being part of and loved by the DiBiase family, is the people we're surrounded with now.
Yeah, no, it's
my God, the people that we are surrounded with
Yeah. If it wasn't for that,
many days I feel unworthy.
Well, and I am. I realize this, and I think that that's a testament to what it is that we talk about all the time and hammer to no end because we care about everybody.
Right.
Is that obviously out of something that is something I could never imagine until it actually happened. It's so utterly horrible that anything good can come out of that. This is proof that absolutely this is true. All the people that you mentioned that we're surrounded with now, these people really became our family. I mean,
and all these people were good people before.
Sure,
but the way I've seen them rally around the family, the way they've rallied around the group, and whatever cause, we try to or you try to get together, whatever the rallying point is, it's just amazing the amount of support I see.
Yeah,
and it all comes out of the fact that we all love and miss Tony.
Yeah, and obviously, you always hear people say these things, especially during a tragedy, but until you actually experience it yourself, a lot of times it's very easy to naysay, right? Oh yeah, sure, okay,
yep.
God can take something ugly and turn it into something beautiful. Well, that's actually true, and this is absolute proof of it. We're not inventing this. It's not like Hooper does a good job of saying it's not to like fill a hole, which it does. But that's not how it came about. Yeah. It came about totally different than that, and we're just kind of running with it. And now with this foundation we're starting, it gives us even. It seems like every time, the radio show, this whole thing was like step one, and then something else happens, like the YouTube. If anyone hasn't seen it, go to YouTube. Search David Hooper. Look at the videos.
Down the rabbit hole stuff.
Awesome. It injects new energy, right?
Yeah.
And now that gives us something else even to just be excited about and talk about and push because, wow, hear the sirens?
Must be Hooper.
Maybe he's speeding. But, so it's pretty exciting. We're all pumped up about it. And I think if go to thedcdfoundation.org, check it out. My email contact is there. And I appreciate feedback too, right? If anyone says, "Hey, this is what's really good about it," this is critique it for sure. It's new.
Yeah, give us the things we haven't thought about.
And everyone asks, "How can we help?" And I put in there. I mean, I'm just blunt about it right now. Arguably the most effective thing anyone can do is donate money.
Yep.
Because without it, we can't do things like hire lawyers and file forms and pay fees and jump through government hoops to help people.
Unless, of course, there is a lawyer out there that's willing to do it pro bono to help us out.
My email's there. Shoot it out.
So
if
you
know
can
lawyers,
always contact us at info@thedcdfoundation.org. That'll get right to us.
Yeah.
And, we're willing to accept, we have a lot of people that have more talent than money right now that are working with us. And so they're using their gifts to help support what we're doing. So we're totally into time donations if money is not your thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff to do, right? I mean, it's anything. I mean, in the legal part of it, I think is very simple.
I think
it's
so too.
just going to be reviewing some documents and some advice and making sure we're not going to be audited and thrown in prison or something because heaven forbid if we
not for that.
Help somebody, but. It's a good cause. There's little kids out there that cannot go to school, and I think we have a pretty good philosophy here and a pretty good approach to it, and I think it'll be administered almost perfectly.
Yeah, and I think a large part of the reason why we're so passionate about it, I mean, there's obviously several reasons that are really cool, but it's also a way for anyone who's ever been to any foreign country. I hear a lot of the same things with the people who have been to South America and married, have spouses or have family in South America or something like that. But when you go to the Philippines, the way they treat you, you fall in love. It becomes your second home. And this is a way, the best things in our lives are our wives and our children.
Yeah.
And this is a way for me to really do something that pays tribute to my wife and her heritage. I mean, my son's half Filipino.
Sure, yeah.
He needs to understand about that, and I'm lucky. I have a really good kid we're always telling him, it's like, hey, look, dude, your cousins,
right?
They don't, you better take advantage of this stuff, kid.
Yeah, I mean, we're sending them their clothes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's so good about it, man. He'll be done with something and be like, I haven't played with this toy in a while. Can we send it?
Yeah, right.
And he's just making piles of stuff, and it's pretty much like, dude, play with something a little longer. I can't send it the box. Can't afford the boxes.
But you're right. It's absolutely to give back, because I think, and especially in hindsight, which is always 2020, think about, if you can even remember, because it's even getting hard for me. It's been a long time now to remember how your outlook on things, how your brain worked, like, say, pre-Gurley, pre-Grace for me.
Yeah, wow.
It's very hard to... I've learned more than I can even sum up or express in words from people that most people say are third world, don't have anything, uneducated, right?
Simple.
When they're way more sophisticated than anyone gives them credit for, on different levels maybe.
Absolutely.
Not walking around with PhDs, but they can make sure each other doesn't starve to death, and I can't say that for people here.
There's a lot of one of the many things. I mean, I could go on for 3 shows about everything I love about my wife, but one of the things I like about Gurley and a lot of her friends, your wife as well, is they have a level of street smart that is just missing in youth and so many people today.
Well, it's not forced. They're not forced to have this here because they're coddled so much. Yeah. And if you actually were to put your kid through what they went through growing up, it would literally be abuse by law, actually. Yeah, it would be neglect. It would be, and they can't help it because they're poor. Yeah. I mean, but you're right. I mean, from a survival standpoint.
I know I have so many acquaintances and, and people I see that they're so sheltered that they can't even really function.
Right.
It's like they're existing inside their own world, inside the world.
Right. Yeah. It's
and it amazes me.
Well, and you see.
And I mean, I guess I'm happy for them, but
well, I'm very. I'll admit it. I'm envious. I'm envious. I see how close their families are and how they stick together. Yep. And not exclusively, but that's just how they don't kick me out because I'm the white guy,
right?
At all, nothing like this, right? It wasn't even brought up. I mean, they don't even care about this. It's like they got it right.
And I know what you hear, but I'm telling you, at least with I can speak for my in-laws, and I'm sure his as well. They didn't think they were marrying a rich American. They didn't think they were picking up a meal ticket because, man, they grilled me. If they thought I was a meal ticket, they would have been a lot nicer to me than they were before they gave me permission to marry their daughter.
And let's also, in the spirit of honesty, we're not meal tickets.
No, actually, she's my meal ticket.
We're working, you know what I'm saying? So we're just we're just average. So I mean, we do okay. We have
there is that myth. There is that myth that you can retire and live like a king in the Philippines.
Well, that's it's somewhat of a myth, yeah. But again, money does go farther.
Yes, it does.
Which is what we're hoping for, actually.
Yeah.
That's actually a side one. And actually, let's throw this out there because I want people to kind of understand how dire the situation really is.
Right, and how little we need to be effective.
Well, here it is, right? I mean, I have a good friend. We've become really good friends. He would be like the equivalent of, I guess, a county commissioner. What we have here, he's there, right? So he's like barangay chairman. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't matter. It's like county commissioner-ish, city council kind of guy, right? Really good friends of the family, great guy. My brother-in-law was sick. He's the guy I called. He's dialed in, right? He's honest. I can totally trust him. I told him I need some data. I need some info, right? I need to know how much, how many kids, all these things, right? It boils down to basically roughly annually, by the way, once per year.
I love Fiji. Thanks, brother.
No more than $20 a year, $15 U.S. dollars, by the way, per year.
That's what's standing between a child and an education.
That's exactly right.
And what's cool about it, I love the way you refuse to take credit for anything you do. But I love the way you thought about it in the beginning when we were talking, that our plan is that we are not going to be sending kids on a yearly basis to re-enroll. The idea is to take a look at their age and to make sure enough money is transferred into account to guarantee that they can graduate from high school.
Exactly.
So, because our biggest fear is that if we get less money in year 2 than we get in year 1, how do you decide which kids
we're telling
get to
100
stay in
kids
school?
to go pack sand, and I don't want to do that.
No.
I'd rather them just not go.
No, so the idea is to start out small and grow,
Right.
but every year we get new revenue, we can pick up new kids because all the kids from last year are covered.
They're sponsored permanently through, exactly. And that is the philosophy.
And we've even got our guy in the Philippines trying to negotiate with the organization. It's to their benefit that if they take, we are willing to pay them for 10 years of school in advance if they are willing to guarantee us that 10 years from now that kid will be taken care of.
And if not,
we'll just keep it in account and we'll pay the fees every year.
It's going to be basically in it's probably not a trust, is not accurate, but it's going to be here in the States under our control.
Right.
And checks will be written annually out of that fund for each kid, specifically by name, so that as long as the kid stays in school, stays alive, obviously, these things go perfectly home run. There will be no shortage, and we won't add anyone else until we have. We got to still have some research to do, but what's the golden number, right? Let's just say $2,000.
Right.
Until we have this set aside, we don't add anyone else.
Right.
And I would rather just sponsor 6, 10, 15, 20 kids than try to go for the, get overzealous and have 1,000 kids on, and then next year go, we can only do 700.
Right.
Because if you send a kid to school for 2 years
and then take it away,
and then say sorry,
man,
I mean, I can't imagine that would be more disheartening than anything.
Yeah.
So
that would be heartbreaking for us.
That's terrible, and I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. So, go check it out, thedcdfoundation.org. It's rolling, and the more help we get, the better. So, I'm geeked about it, man. I'm pumped up. This is awesome.
Yeah, me too.
It's DCD.
That's right.
Foundation.org.
Check her out. Read it. Donate button is clear because it's
go right and check it out.
Because it's orange, right, or yellow, and you can't miss it. So,
check out. Sliding panels. What's up with that? Sorry, I'm showing the mobile to Hooper.
Oh, he's showing off the mobile site.
I'm proud.
Dude, he did such
is that a new phone?
No.
He did such a great job, dude.
I made a mobile site. I made my first mobile site.
So awesome.
Oh, you made this?
Yeah.
Check it out, dude.
Yeah, so that's the mobile version, and then the web version just looks like a website.
It's so cool.
Howard.
It's so cool. I'm so impressed. It's amazing.
My phone's old school, so a couple things are out of line unless you turn
it fits. It looks good.
It's great. So it's live. It's on. It's up. And,
when did you get this foundation up and running?
Well, since you missed the first part of the show, just
I know
kidding.
exactly.
I'm just totally giving you a hard time.
I'm that kid that always comes in late for class, so the teacher has to repeat herself.
It basically this all materialized within the last couple of months, actually.
Yeah.
All right, so this was the foundation you were talking
this is
about.
The one we're doing.
That we're sponsoring at the party. Yep.
Is C your middle name?
No. Again,
don't elaborate. That's a no is fine.
Oh, look at the second
party is no. It's actually started from DiBiase Custom Designs, which never took off because my brother was killed. So we just kept DCD because it's his logo, his name, keeps his signature on it.
Oh, look here, second tab on the mobile. What does DCD stand for?
Yeah, that's amazing, dude. It's very cool.
I'm gonna be that guy.
We're gonna totally abuse
brother.
you, but it's okay,
brother.
dude. We love you. So that's it. That's what we got going on.
Yep.
So again, thedcdfoundation.org. Send me an email. Donate if you can. I'm going to be throwing it out on Facebook for people that I'm friends with there, and it'll be around. So, and we'll plug it constantly.
Yeah.
Let's make it a regular part of the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In fact, let's just focus on these guys. We did architects and engineers for a while, elder care, ink on paper, I am the face of the truth.
Outs.
Let's go DCD.
Let's do it.
And let's hammer it for the rest of this year.
Let's do it. Let's send a Barong guy.
I'll do stuff on my Facebook for it too.
Awesome. Yeah, when I get it on there, you'll see it, and then you can just go ahead and throw it around, and let's see where it goes. If this thing gets legs, and which I'm praying that it does, we can have an effect that I don't know if most people even understand the actual impact.
Well, because one of the things I wanted to add, and it's part of it's part of the culture in a, again, I hate using third world, but in an impoverished country, it's part of the culture that you really take care of your own in a way that we haven't taken care of our own here in probably 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, once you get one through school, when that one person gets through school and goes out and starts working, they grab one or two more and put them through school.
That's right.
So there's the potential here. I'm not saying every kid is going to be able to do it. I'm not saying every kid's going to want to do it. But I mean, if we can get 20 through, odds are 15 of them are going to grab one or two more and make it happen for them.
The
so
key,
this is really
the key is that you create the opportunity.
Right.
You create the opportunity, and they can literally have a mechanism to do for themselves. And that is what I really love about it, because
so you support a kid to get their education. When they finish their education, the idea is then they go support at least one more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they do in their family. So because these are large,
family,
they're like it's probably like Columbia. They have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, right? They have these big families. And I watched
only 50% of the way with my mom's
well,
family. There's
again,
21 brothers and sisters.
Right,
in that
and I watched. I saw this actually firsthand. With my wife is how, it's her oldest brother went to school, and then he was blessed with a really good singing voice, so he was able to go out and work as a singer and make enough money to where he paid to put my wife through school.
Right.
And then she graduated college, and then she's also a good singer, so she managed to hook up and be a singer as well. And then they together split it and made sure that the other two younger brothers that wanted to get a college education got it. So we were sending money to put them through college. So that's what you're talking about is that you can't really, especially there though, and they're working on.
They want to be education.
Well, they need it. Unfortunately, the way their system is organized is that you have to have it, or you can't even get a job,
Right.
and which is a racket. And I can't really go into the politics of it for legal reasons, but the bottom line is that without it,
we can't fix our own country. We're not going to fix theirs.
Well, again, we can't get involved in that kind of stuff, but that's just how it is. So if they don't go to get at least some degree, they can't even be a clerk in a mall.
Right.
Which is completely ridiculous.
Because there are people with degrees fighting to be clerks in malls.
It's really crazy. So that's their motivation, is they must have this, right? And without a high school diploma, you're not going any further.
Right.
So you're stuck, literally stuck, and it's not like they're not going to live.
If you get that high school diploma and have really good grades, there are the Filipino education system is wonderful in the way it takes care of those students who work hard and show that they're exceptional.
Yeah, like scholarships and stuff.
Yeah, because with my wife's family, my wife's mother lost her job or could not work, so Girlie had to drop out of college to help support the family. So when she got back on her feet, she finished putting her next youngest brother through high school. Now this kid is smart. I mean, he's super smart. So he got a bunch of scholarships, got a degree, and then once he was out of school and making money, the two of them put the youngest brother through nursing school. And then when his need went down after he graduated nursing school, now we're helping nieces and nephews.
Yeah. Well, and
so there's no shortage of good kids who need help.
No, there's not. And and we kind of forgot, and it's explained on the site actually, but we might have forgotten the most important part of this whole effort is the idea is for each kid that is sponsored in this program, each one will receive their own Bible supplied by the foundation, and will be part of, hopefully, a community that we organize that makes sure that these kids know the truth about Jesus Christ and they learn the gospel. And that's the very reason why they're receiving anything in the first place.
Right.
And I think that's going to have an impact we could never measure.
This is an awesome idea. Congratulations, man. I'm impressed. I like it.
You like it?
I'm totally behind it. And have you ever seen videos of when a shipment of Bibles has been delivered to like an impoverished area.
I've heard stories about people that have
seen-
experienced. I've never seen this.
I've seen-
I have goosebumps right now because I've seen where they've had. If you've seen these, Howard,
I've seen flatbeds of rice. I'm sure that's
Okay, well,
I'm sure that's very similar in the Philippines.
so and I couldn't tell you the country. It's obviously a third world. You know that whatever is a a miracle in their eyes. And I was watching this segment one day, and these Bibles had been shipped, and there were a room full of families, and they opened the box up, and whoever had arranged this had shipped Bibles to everyone in the town. Like the Bibles had they were pulling them out and saying the names. These people that were receiving these books were in tears. You saw them; they grabbed it and just started kissing it, and it's just like, man, we take so much for granted
yes,
because
boy, do we.
here, on the other, how do Americans handle that? We complain if there's a Bible in our hotel drawer.
We file
Yeah,
legal proceedings
exactly.
because it's discriminating,
and
whatever.
And
Foolish.
it's that was nice to see. I mean, there are obviously the word is still spreading. It's not everywhere.
Hey,
as
man,
much
it
as
is, and I had it's unrelated to this, but maybe not, because all these things are connected. All week I was in this robot college class, right, to learn how to use these new robots we're getting, and there's people from all over. They travel in to Michigan to go to this class, and I just happened to be talking to one guy outside today. Just him and I were out there, and somehow conversation came up about, I think we just got on the topic of like conspiracies. It was really weird, right? This dude's from Oregon, right? Some weird thing going on Northwest with us.
I'll tell you a conspiracy. Those people out in the Northwest, they love conconspiracies.
Well,
that's a whole conspiracy in and of itself.
I mean, it's he's all up on it. So I was like and I just kind of said, there's nothing that I threw out that was too weird for him. And I thought, and he's young. I could tell he's younger than me. He's probably, if he's 30, I'd be surprised. Maybe he just looks young. But, he's married, got a young kid, and I just kind of made the comment, like, because I don't like to be pushy. I'm not, I think you'll know what I'm saying. So I just kind of was like, I don't know if you're religious or what your disposition is here, but, I kind of made the comment that if you push through these and look into these deep enough, they all basically converge at an apex, and that is simply that
the devil. It's
exactly
an apex called Satan.
And he kind of was like, you know what, man? Actually, I am religious. He's like, I'm very religious. He's like, I kind of lost my faith a little bit within the last couple of years because he lost his brother.
Oh, now
So
you have something to talk about.
weird,
There's no
dude.
accident
It
there.
was so weird, and I told him, I said, let me just give you something, and maybe this will give you a little bit of insight, and maybe it will help you, maybe it won't. I said, but 2 years ago, I also lost my brother, and I told him the whole story, and I was very graphic about it, described everything I experienced, and told him that the opposite happened to me. It actually didn't rob me of my faith. It actually put it on steroids. It actually caused this whole chain of events. Ended up giving him one of the cards for the show, told him to check it out, and something we say on the show, some of the podcasts may help him deal with this. It may, and I could tell he was fighting back. Tears, the kid was, it was obvious.
And you
him
know
and his brother,
exactly what he's feeling.
obviously him and his brother were very close, and from my description of the relationship I had with Tony, he was basically like, dude, it's just like that. It was just like that. And he watched his brother die. He had like leukemia, and then it turned into something else, and it sounded really brutal, right? And I told him, I just kind of, it was one of those things that, and then afterwards I'm thinking, here, we had Quinn from Seattle call in here, and here this guy's from, Portland, and just happened to be in a robot class, and for some reason we end up getting on this subject, and I was able to just kind of throw him a grenade, and obviously hit a nerve, right? So there's no end to the impact of what we're up to here. So very, very thankful for all of this.
That's why it's important we keep telling people what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again.
No, it's definitely working. There are definitely people that are resistant. And I had I'm always running into resistance, but I'm at, now that we've got this show and there's a movie and a book that, we've all that are either in works or have, it's like we don't have to be public about it anymore. Like our friend that was here last weekend, Kevin, was talking about it was so hard for him to go talk to people when it's just him talking.
Yeah.
But for some reason in this world, if you have a radio show or you do a movie or a book, all of a sudden people listen, even though you're the exact same guy that you were before, but it just,
and there's even a good chance the person you're talking to is smarter than you.
Yeah.
But just because you have this outlet, it seems to they take notice, and which is, again, I'm grateful for all that. So
last night I'm with Betsy. She's my ex and my sister, and Betsy and I have been getting along really well, and I've got a feeling that that's going to stick.
Good.
Because it's something that changed in me, not with her, which I'm happy to talk about in a minute. But we actually got onto this. We started talking conspiracies because my sister actually, she was very stereotypical right out of, started 5 years ago. I'm like, holy cow, Nancy, 9/11 inside job. She's like, okay, Dave, you're going crazy.
Yeah, team tinfoil, right?
Yeah. So then we make that movie, and then she's like, okay, 9/11's a real thing. Then she goes quiet on me for about another year or two, and I'm still talking to her. Actually, not shoving it into her. I'm just mentioning things in past. I don't care. I'm not trying to prove anything to her anymore. And I think I told you guys the story about Sandy Hook, where I
right.
just said, yeah, Sandy Hook's a fake. And she's like, okay, Dave, 9/11, I understood why, I get that, but you're crazy if you think Sandy Hook was a fake thing. I'm like, look, Nancy, I don't care what you believe anymore. I'll see you for Christmas. Click. She comes 3 days later, and she's like, Dave, oh my God.
Yeah.
Sandy Hook was completely fabricated. I'm like, I know. She's like, Dave, all those kids are still alive. I know. Dave, it wasn't even a real school. I know. It's like that. I know it. And she's into the conspiracy theories. She's not yet at the point where all roads lead, when it comes to conspiracies, lead to, the devil.
Right.
She's not there yet, because every time I'm like, well, have you put it together yet, Nancy? This is the father of lies, the deceiver of the whole. She's like, oh, look, and my nickname's Gordo in that family. She's like, okay, Gordo, yeah, I'm not there yet. And she's, because she's jokingly, lovingly, half lovingly, I'll say, she considers me a Jesus freak just because I speak openly about Jesus Christ now, which is something most people just don't do unless you're having sex or you're in a movie. So we were talking about it last night, and so she's getting into the conspiracies. And what I love is, and Betsy's there too, and the relationship, one of the reasons Hoopers have thick skin is because our family unconditionally loves each other. We know that, but we beat each other. We battle each other. We debate. It's like it's a Hispanic family. We're loud, we scream, but we're hugging 5 minutes later. Yeah. And I love it. It's it's not like a pleasant fake smiles Ming Dynasty vase retail shop.
It's a lot like Italians.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I way rather, it's all I know. I don't even know what the merry-go-round looks like. I like the roller coaster. It's got its drawbacks, but so when my sister and I are tag teaming against Betsy knows that it's not like some deal that the Hoopers cut, because if my sister disagreed with me on something, she would flat out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, her and Betsy would team up on you in reverse,
which
right?
they ultimately ended up doing because
they're women.
Brady happens to know who Adolf Hitler is, and he knows the word Illuminati. And I don't ever remember specifically teaching those. It's not like I sat down and said, Brady, the Illuminati is the name of the humans that are working for Satan on Earth. Yeah, I didn't say it like that. I don't even know if he's heard it from me specifically, but they were both pretty bent out of shape that, well, Dave, have you ever thought, what if your son is out with some other parents and he mentions Adolf Hitler? And I'm like, so? Yeah. I'm like, so he knows more about history than most 30-year-olds. So yeah. Well, aren't you going to be embarrassed if he mentions Illuminati? I'm like, I don't care what people think of me anymore. I just care what.
You might be embarrassed if he was wearing an armband given the Nazi salute, like meant talking about Hitler and like had a little fake mustache or something. That would be totally different. But he like knows about it.
Right.
I wouldn't.
Right. I wouldn't.
He's not
I
the
wouldn't
Hitler.
go permanent marker and put a swastika.
Yeah,
on
he's
his
not the
forehead
Hitler
or
youth. I
anything
mean,
like
he just
that.
knows about it.
I'm not teaching him the ideals. It's a cautionary tale. So then that morphs into this conversation of, because it's something we said last week, which is once you know Jesus is real, and now you know heaven and hell are real. Once that's on your radar screen, and if you really believe what he said was true, there's, in my opinion anyway, there's nothing more important than making sure your child, your offspring, your seed gets to heaven and avoids hell if these places are real, which I firmly believe they are.
It's actually biblical that you are mandated to do this.
Okay. So then the conversation morphs into, what is the criteria of getting into heaven and hell? And I have a very biblical worldview, which is I believe most people are not getting into heaven because the Bible says that in many different ways. The gate is wide that leads to hell. Yeah, we'll find the scripture later because we're going to have our heaven and hell show later on. And the criteria, again, we've been so indoctrinated, and I was blown away by what God is looking for in us. Kind of like, Howard, the way you were surprised when you're like, wait a minute, my wife and family is not number one, God's number.
Right.
Like, that was a shocker for me, too. I'm like, that was
hard.
And there's a number of things in there that seem counterintuitive. And last night, Betsy brought up something that I'd mentioned years ago before I was really well-versed. And she's like, Dave, I remember. I'm doing my Betsy voice. And I love you, honey, if you're listening. She's like, Dave, I remember a few years ago when you said that some guy that has spent his whole life in prison for murder, if on the day before he dies, he says, I am sorry, I believe in Jesus, and basically, the things we have to believe Jesus is the Son of God, believe he rose from the dead, as the scripture said, and, please forgive me, and ask for forgiveness. And she's like, she was very upset when I said that. Not, I think, fully understanding that when I first read it, too, I was like, this makes no, so you can actually, the argument we had, or the discussion we had a few years ago, which continued on last night, was if you're a good person and you live a good life and you do work for charities and foundations and you make people laugh and smile all the time, but you don't acknowledge inside yourself that Jesus is the Son of God, my opinion from what I've read is you're not going to heaven.
Well, I don't think that's personal conjecture. I think that's actually written plainly.
So I'm going to tie this into Catherine because I'm telling you, this girl is the operator, like the old school 1940 days where they had the big plugs into a wall, like connecting people.
Memorized.
So we get off on this tangent that gets a little hot, a little heated about, and they always think that I'm attacking them personally when I basically, and I try and be so gentle along the lines of, well, check into the criteria, but that's not it. And my sister's like, well, look, I know I'm going to heaven, and I know Betsy's going to heaven. To be honest, Dave, I'm worried about you. Now, the truth is I am worried about me because the more I understand about what it takes,
me too,
the more I'm like, holy cow.
About,
exactly. So I actually agreed with her on that point, but I wanted to convey to her, I'm like, how do you convey to someone, I wouldn't be so arrogant, and because think about the day you are sitting in front of the Creator, which is going to happen. I fully believe what is written in the scriptures now because all of history was predicted before it happened.
Yeah.
So I don't need, I'm going to have faith that the last 10% I haven't seen yet is also going to happen, including what the judgment day is going to look like. So we get into this debate about what it takes to get into heaven, and Betsy brought up again that argument from a few years ago, and she's obviously was still upset about it, where she's like, yeah, and when you told me that some guy that's been in prison for 10 years can, I think you're crazy, Dave. And it wasn't until I was driving up here, I was like, I should have told her about that story of the guy that was on the cross right next to Jesus.
Right.
I'm like, he was a sinner up until like 10 minutes before he died. He asked for forgiveness. And then the words, and it's cryptic. This is why, I think this is why you need the Holy Spirit to sort these things out. Because his words to that guy that was on the cross next to him was, I tell you this today, you will be in paradise with me. Something like that. So did he say, I tell you this today, comma, you will be in paradise with me at some point in the future? Or is it, I tell you this, comma, today you will be in paradise?
Yeah.
Not that's a sidebar. But I wish I would have had that ready to go last night because everyone knows about that guy, even if you've never read the Bible, because he's in every movie.
Well, that was part of the shaming that they put the Son of God between two thieves.
Not knowing the massive amount of information that was disseminated from the next 2,000 years about how simple it is in some respects to get into heaven.
Yeah.
Because all he did was repent right at the last second, and he got in. So flash forward to this morning. Catherine, who's not here today because she was on
she's on a girls' retreat.
all-girls weekend. Hi, Kat, if you guys are listening. And
don't do anything we wouldn't do.
I was about to say, no, I'm not going to say it on our religious show. So, but I think you know what I would have said because it has, never mind. Damn it, I'm going to hell. I am probably going to hell. Anyway, so here's what she writes this morning. Now, the last time we really talked was probably last week. Maybe I talked to her this week. She's done this more times than I can shake a stick at. Here was her text message. And Howard, I'm showing you, like her text, she sent me something Monday, August 1st. The next text I get is this morning at 9 a.m. And she does this all the time. She just asked me, have you ever read Galatians chapter 3 and Romans chapter 4? Read those two back to back when you have a few minutes, okay? Galatians is one of the books I have not read.
Okay.
And I wasn't familiar with Romans. So I go and look them up. And guess what they're about?
They're about how to get to heaven?
Yeah, it's about the debate between faith versus works. And how they work, and I'm just like, how the hell do you do it? Like, how do you do this?
I'm telling you, she's plugged in.
She's
plugged in.
I will, when I found out she was not coming in today, I was actually bummed out. I'm like, oh, because she's not like, when she says something, no, wait, Catherine, plug your ears on this. Plug your ears right now. I don't want you to hear this part. But when she says something, like, I'm listening, like I want, if she has this feeling about something, I want to hear it. What I don't want to do is hear a story that goes on for 25 minutes. No, I'm just teasing. I'm teasing.
And I could be totally cynical, and it could have to do with the fact that you gave her the topic weeks ago in an email, so that's why she sent you that. So you'd be armed for the show. Just got to be scientific about it.
Nice buzzkill, Dave.
Sorry. I had to say it. It just came to me. I don't know why.
Huh.
Anyway.
Interesting.
Hey, I'm a scientist. What can I tell you?
You know what? I appreciate that. Still, even though it was my I didn't put it.
I mean, all these things together, it's all what you're going through.
It's not the first time where something.
No, these things all happen.
So,
I did that to mess with Kate mostly. The cat, I mean.
Do you guys? There was a time where I used to be frustrated where, like, I'd ask a question of God and I would expect Jesus or an angel or someone of some sort of
coherent answer.
I wanted someone to beam down, materialize in front of me, give me the answer, and go, I'll see you later. Just call me whenever you need me. Because, that's how I thought. Well,
with a towel in his
these
arm
guys,
and a cold glass of water.
Exactly. Here's some purified water.
Warm towel, Mr. Hooper.
But what I'm finding out is I'm starting to understand the reasons they can't do that, because it can be harmful literally to us to be exposed to that much light. However, every time...
the signs are everywhere.
That's what I'm saying. Every time I ask a question...
And I don't know if the signs are always there or if the signs become more abundant when you open your eyes. That's what I would love to know. is if I could just, fast forward back and kind of do that click movie thing.
Right.
And watch me missing signs that were there to actually know if they were always there and I was blind to them, or if the second they realized, whoa, hey, Hannah, we got through to the fat one, the fat guy in Westland, the hairy one, we got through to him. Let's bomb him with stuff because he's coming to our side. I would love to know. I tend to think they were always there.
I believe they're always there. I think you could maybe make an analogy like, a radio, right? If you're tuned in to AM 900, well, what's on AM 760 ain't coming through your speakers, dude.
Right.
But if you're tuned in to all the frequencies, then you're going to be picking up all the broadcasts at the same time.
Because in retrospect, one of the first things I did when it all became clear to me is all of a sudden so many events in the last 15 years of my life started to make sense. Oh, I missed it. Oh, that's what that was about.
Yeah.
Hindsight. And you go back years and years and years and you start to realize that there's a pattern to things. But I get so bombarded with these signs on a regular basis now. I just wonder if they were as abundant.
Of course they were. But again, it takes the Holy Spirit to actually
to allow you to be able to see them
and understand them. How many times did I sit down in the past and maybe try to read the Bible and it was gibberish,
right?
Literally
gibberish.
It was like, what is it? I'm not reading this. What is this? And put it away. Now, come on. Now it's like you understand. You're just like, oh yeah, okay, duh. What was I even thinking about?
It says the only two things I had that it's all anecdotal-ish. One part's not. There was a period of time where I was seeing 11s, 9/11, 10/11, 3/11. I was seeing it not just on clocks. I'm seeing it everywhere. It just seemed to be ubiquitous, and I didn't know. Am I seeing all numbers, but I'm just noticing 11 because it's a number of awakening, or it's like I just bought a Volkswagen. Now I'm noticing Volkswagens. Where or is it because...
I wonder how many blue escapes there were before I got mine.
Exactly.
But we're filthy with them now.
I lean to the other side, which is, a couple weeks ago, I was having that little miniature meltdown, and I'm like, I need, is what we're doing worthwhile? And in a matter of 1 week, we had... just a confluence of...
Well, you were bombed, dude. Bombed.
Totally.
Well, he made sure, dude. He made sure.
And that's why
that you don't quit because
and by the way,
you're too effective.
You look like you feel so much better now.
I do. And I'll even tell you why, because it has something to do with God and forgiveness, and I had to let something go, and
Well, I'll tell you what.
It's pretty incredible,
We're going to take a quick break, pay a few bills, and give everybody about 5 minutes to go make a lot of donations on thedcdfoundation.org. We're going to give Kenny a break because he's got to go potty.
In fact, we're going to start off. I'm going to tell you why this studio time was free today, but instead of having it be free for us.
Welcome back to Down the Rabbit Hole. We're about to get a good story from Hoops over here.
Oh, this is Dave. How you're going to get your... have you had a first donation yet to DCD, the DCDfoundation.org?
Not through the PayPal button, but lots of donations from Mr. Howard. So,
all right. So here's my excuse of the month of why I was late today, because I've always got a new one, and this one's legit. They're all legit.
So it's actually a reason.
Yeah, yeah. Well, by your second and third one, they are excuses because we all have our little things, and my thing is. And it is psychological. I don't know how to be on time.
Are you sure you're not Filipino? They can't be on time either.
I think it is an opposite reaction to my dad, who was military. He was always like 5 minutes early for everything, and so I just went in the other direction. And my sister, we're both the same way. Like, we can accomplish stuff, but you need us to be somewhere on time every day. Like, that's not our strong suit. So here's how you're going to get your donation from my sister. And if you're listening, Nance, get your checkbook out right now. So we're visiting my mom, and there's a bathroom up there, and I keep some shaving equipment like clippers, electronic clippers. And I had a 3-week beard going up until about 2 hours ago. And last time she was there, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd been up having some cocktails. Now, that's only 2 o'clock in the morning her time, so understand, it's only psychotic on my end.
Right, still 5 o'clock on your time.
So she's like, and again, nickname is Gordo, so if you hear me say Gordo, it's just my family's nickname, which in Spanish means fat one, and don't think like I didn't get made fun of for that name forever. Like in 7th grade, all other parents normally wait in their cars when the school dance is going on. No, my dad's the guy that would walk in, go over to the DJ booth. I'm looking for my son Gordo. Is he here anywhere? I'm like, oh my get son of a, I'm not related to him. So she decides to clean out the bathroom. And at 5 a.m., she's coming in. She's like, Dave, the stack of Playboys, you want me to keep them or toss them out? I'm like, you're keeping those because they're from the 70s. Those are historical artifacts, okay? That's not. And all these, like,
you need to do some research.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You actually can learn a lot by reading articles from old publications on what people were thinking, what they were doing. So I was like, keep those. And she came back in with a few other things, this hairspray for men, which I'd had since high school, unused, was under there. I'm like, you can toss that. And after like her third trip into my room while I'm trying to fall asleep, I'm like, Nancy, please just don't do it. Just leave the stuff there or make your own decisions. But, just don't do it. But don't bother me anymore. So she goes on and makes a bunch of executive decisions, like throwing out all of my electric clipper razor settings, which I had to go get out of the trash, and she moved some stuff around. Bottom line is I didn't find out until today at 4:45, which is right as I'm, about to shave this thing off. I pull out the electric clippers that she'd been messing with, and she took them. We have to put them in this little basket because some water drips down. And so I had them off of the floor so that they wouldn't be exposed to dampness. And I turn the thing on, and it sounds strange. I go to take a swipe. It, cuts off a bunch of hair and then jams up. And I look at it, and it's rusted. I can't get it to work. I can't do anything. But I can't leave the house with just
with a
swatch of a landing strip.
I mean, and I'm going. And so I'm like, I got to go hand razor on this thing. And if you've ever had shit,
man.
And I was close to where Howard is, which is. Ooh. So I start going at it. I'm like, oh my hand is getting sore because I'm like, fast. I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to be late for this because of something she did a few months ago with my razor because I hadn't used it. And she's got her in-laws coming over to my house today, and she's always worried. She wants everyone all dressed up and smelling nice. So I'm now running late. You've been in that. Oh, you guys have both been in that house. So
yeah.
There's like an overpass upstairs, and you can see the whole.
Yeah.
So I get out of the bathroom, and where I would normally totally respect her and only show them the cleaned up version of myself, instead, and I'm comfortable. It's very hard to embarrass me, and I'm very comfortable in my own body, and I have my towel wrapped around me. And I leaned out, and I, hey, Robin's family, how are you guys? And my sister's like, oh, Gordo, get some clothes on. What are you doing? I'm like, what's wrong? The reason I'm not dressed right now, Nancy, is because of the razor incident. Because I ended up having to hand do my beard, which Howard, takes. I mean, it's like shit. You got to shave like five times.
You actually would never actually purposely do that.
Yeah, no, it's too painful.
Yeah, you have to
it just takes too long. My trick was. You go electric clippers, you get the thing down to like a scruff, then you shave, kabam, 5 minutes, done. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm laughing in the inside, because I'm in a great mood today, but I'm laughing on the inside because I'm like, holy cow, I'm going to be late again. No matter what I do, it seems like I'm going to end up being late for this thing. But there's always a reason, so I'm strutting around with just my towel on, and my sister's all freaking out, and so that was my way of like getting her back. But as we're leaving, and I was laughing, and she was laughing too. I go, "Well, you're gonna buy me a new set of clippers," and I go, "And you're also gonna pay for our studio time today." And she's like, "Yeah, no problem. How much is it? $200?" And I'm like,
$1,500.
Yeah, I should have. 'Cause she came out with a figure that's a lot higher
than $10,000. I don't know what
I should have. So on the way up, I called Howard and I'm like, "Hey, we're gonna have a free studio today because my sister offered, through my coercion to reimburse us for this one, and we're gonna do that. We're gonna give that to the DCDFoundation.org. I love it. And so, Nance, if you're listening, you make the check out to the DCD Foundation.
Just go PayPal, man.
Just go PayPal.
Click the button. It's easy.
We've made it convenient.
Yeah, it's all electronic.
Like, they even accept credit cards.
Yeah.
So give more than you can afford to.
Have Visa pay for it now, then you can pay them back.
After all, it's just interest.
Back 3 times as much later.
Yeah,
so,
but no, obviously we would really appreciate that.
I'm going to make that happen.
Awesome.
And Nance, if you want to win some brownie points, if you're listening, I love you. But tape that check to my computer, and that'll put a smile on your bro's face.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
So I will make sure that gets to your foundation.
That's great.
So. So I won't be able to use the shaving excuse ever again.
Right.
That one's now used up.
That one's off the list.
But I've always got the ship opening the bridge up because we live on an island, or the trains because I live on the wrong side of the tracks. So either one of those are always in place. So I'm going to be fine.
Flat tire. There's a myriad of
flat tires happen too.
Of course they do. It's Michigan.
Oh,
absolutely. So
we were outside and talking. Dave, you had mentioned that you ran into a guy that lost his brother at a very young age, and we got into a little discussion about whether it seems it's a morbid question. It is, without a doubt. But I'm curious, and Kenny, I want you to chime in on this one too. If, in retrospect, if you had a choice, the question was, do you think it's easier to cope with the death of a loved one when it's out of the blue, or like it was with your brother? Because obviously that was completely unexpected. He was a totally healthy guy.
Right, yeah.
Versus your new friend whose brother sounds like he had leukemia.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah, it was an illness.
You could see that it was coming, which the pros and cons are you suffer longer when someone's terminal, but you have a chance for closure, versus if it's a surprise, you don't you don't worry about what's going to happen while your loved one is sick. So what are your guys' thoughts about that? Like if
I think they both suck.
Well, no doubt.
Yeah.
We're talking.
I can't. The only thing I have come up with since we talked about it outside is that if you're dealing with a terminal illness, the difference is that for quite a long period, the family members usually have a lot of hope that a miracle is going to happen or something like that. So it's not like, you're bummed out and you're going through something, but I don't know that you're actually grieving during the entire illness.
That's probably a good point.
But they both suck.
Well, loss is loss, right?
Loss is loss.
That's what we said. But there's
and you can't quantify loss based on circumstance, because while anybody would put it down on paper and say that David losing his brother was 10 times worse than my mother dying unexpectedly of natural causes, it's the impact that it had on us. I handled it way worse than Dave did.
Yeah, it's like we said outside, loss is loss. For me, there could be possibly a selfish element to it where there are some things that I wish I would have said. There's things that I wish I had a chance to say, which I know he already knew these things, right? But I don't know. I think I don't know if you can really say one is better than the other. Other than being maybe a little selfish about it and saying, I really wish I could have had a chance to say this or to make sure he knew this, or we have tie up some loose ends, make sure some paperwork's in order. This is all selfish things. But, of course, it goes through your mind. Obviously, you don't wish either one, but I don't know that you could say it was better one way or the other.
It might just be a stupid question at the end of the day.
No, it's not.
I
think
you're picking between. I don't think it's a stupid question.
I think it's a great question.
I think it's a good question. Like I said, I just don't see how. I think there are pluses and minuses to both, and what you end up with in the end is losing someone you love more than yourself. So
Yeah.
How can that be a positive, except in this rare instance when the family chooses, when the family is determined to make something beautiful out of tragedy?
Right. Yeah.
So
And that's what we're absolutely determined to do. And the sidebar is making sure, because I know where he was with JC, dude. He was down, which is a whole another story in of itself. I got this weird cough. I'm sorry, but
drink some of that purified Fiji water
Yeah, the
that
Fiji
magically appeared at the studio today.
Yeah, dude, you hit one out of the park. I love Fiji. It's my favorite.
But there's no doubt in my mind that because of his convictions, that he's for sure in heaven. So I got to make sure that I end up there too, because for sure, I want to hang out with him again. So
absolutely,
that's really the only way to do it at this point, right? Because I don't want to hang out. As much as I love him, I don't want to hang out with him in hell. So let's be clear. But he's not there. So because he believed Jesus was real, he believed in all of that.
I was worried about that with my dad because I didn't. The importance of who Jesus Christ is, and what he came to save us from was completely lost on me because there was still a big part of me when my dad died that I was just, I just believed things, maybe they just go dark. Existence ends. There's no more thoughts, feelings, or memories. I so do not believe that anymore.
Oh, no.
And I started, I spent a little time really worried about what is my dad's fate. Because once you take your last breath, your condition at that moment is your eternal condition. And my mom's like, no, he came to believe in Jesus in his last days while his Alzheimer's was spreading. And
So he's good.
If there's any votes that are still up for grabs out there, God, he's a good man. I hope he's in there. So what it was also interesting, my mom, who's mega religious, all right?
Right.
She created a monster because now I study the Bible a couple hours a day, just every day. I mean, it's a fascinating series of books, documents, the history of it, everything. And but when we actually were talking about heaven and what it's like, and she's like, "Well, I don't think I'll see you in heaven." And I'm like, "Really?" I think like we.
Wow, what a thing for a mother to say to a son.
No, but it wasn't from the perspective of because you won't be there. And
Right,
she's like,
right.
she's like, "Oh, I don't think we're gonna hang out with people we knew." And I'm like, "Really? I think
What do you think you're gonna do?
Exactly. What are you gonna mop floors in heaven too for the rest of your life? No way." So it was just a fun debate, but it would be. I'd love to be able to see
I thought she was saying that because of your differences.
Yeah, because you're certainly
well,
not
you know,
be
you
there.
got me thinking maybe she is.
Yeah, because sometimes I know she gets a little upset with some of your doctrinal views.
She basically gets upset when I point out to her that what is taught in the Catholic Church is not, in many cases, it is absolutely against the Ten Commandments, what Jesus Christ said. And when we get into one of those debates, she gets really flustered. And because now I know the book better than she does. And she's like, and she has a Spanish head. That is no fair. You pull out, I can't read, bad eyes. I know you just pull out passage and make a point.
If she'd like, I can give her the Bible app for her smartphone.
So
It'll read it for her.
Because I'm like, Mom, you play bridge online. Your eyesight's good enough for that. I go, I can get you some audio books if you want to refresh up a little bit.
We have the technology.
I love your mother.
And she's like,
wonderful.
I've been praying to Jesus for 80 years. Don't even talk to me about it. I'm not going to change my way. And I really believe.
Oh, she's got it right, for sure. For sure. She's got it. She's got all the important parts right. It's just that she is very, very loyal to the Catholic Church.
To the Catholic Church.
So and there are a lot of Catholics that way, and it seems like there are more Catholics than other Christian denominations that are, because I'm Lutheran, okay, and when people didn't understand what Lutheran was, it was usually Catholics. When they didn't understand exactly what Lutheran was, I'm like, well, it's like Catholic without the guilt. It's Catholic light. You know, Lutheranism is based on Catholicism. He just took the stuff out he thought was complete crap.
Well, the corruption part of it.
Yeah.
Which is
and the thing that angered him was I don't remember exactly what they called it, but basically back in Luther's day, if you had enough money, you could do whatever you wanted.
Well, it's pay to play.
Yeah, so if you want to cheat on your wife, you just show up and see the bishop and be like, "Yo, I'm going out and getting some hookers this weekend. How much it going to cost me?"
Right.
Yeah.
And you drop down a bag of gold, you go get hookers. Hooper would have been so happy back then.
Oh, if you could have just paid I would have just had an account open.
Well, hang on, I got some money left. How much for 3 hookers?
But he saw they were deceiving people, so he did something about it.
Yeah.
You know, they were literally deceiving people, and you know, I think for me anyway,
and
this
the
is
whole saved by grace alone concept, that's directly from Luther.
Okay.
I mean, he's the one who found that the Reformation. He led the Reformation that gave us the church in England and a lot of the denominations we know today. But saved by grace alone, that was Martin Luther's. That was his. He's the one who came up with that.
Well, isn't that in the Bible?
It is in the Bible. But
okay.
It was in the 2 passages.
So he
Catherine sent me
he
this
just
morning.
taught it. That's all.
yeah, I mean, but he's the one who decided that you're crazy and used that against the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Well, he put up that 95-point edict, 95 things
Nailed
the Catholic
it to
Church.
the door of the Vatican. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And these are things they still do to this day, which are totally unbiblical. And don't get me wrong, I think we're not saved by which religion we're in or what color our skin is.
It's not about religion.
Exactly. But I do, my mom, she's very involved in the Catholic Church. She doesn't like me going to other churches. It's like it's almost more important to be Catholic than Christian. So under the Christian umbrella, you've got the Catholic religion, and then all the other ones, which probably in numbers balance out, that's probably 50-50. Catholics are 50% of Christians, and then all the other denominations of Christianity, Lutheran, Episcopalian, Baptist.
Right. They all come from the Reformation, which was because they were, I would imagine their ancestors, if your family was Christian long enough, their ancestors were probably Catholic. But it was during the Reformation that they split off, and that's when all these other religions, these other Christian religions that we're so used to today, that's where they sprung from.
Yeah, and actually they found historical evidence recently that wasn't actually an abrupt thing. The Reformation actually went on for hundreds of years.
Yes.
It was actually a gradual process.
Yeah, and it was going on long before Luther.
Right.
But Luther was he was that was like the breaking point.
Yeah. And, we should probably take a second to maybe clarify something, at least for me, for my own personal. We talk a lot about the Catholic Church and reference, Catholics, da-da-da. It's important to point out that we're not trying to condemn Catholics.
Not at all.
It's not the Catholics.
No.
But this can be interpreted this way, and it actually did come up with a conversation I had a week or two ago with my mom. It's actually the institution
absolutely
that we're talking about. Catholics are our bros, man. Like we're on the same. You know what I'm saying? That we're right there. So we need to be maybe just kind of clarify that because I don't want people to be like, "Oh, I'm Catholic, so screw these guys."
Yeah, and we always mean that when we make our Catholic jokes.
It's
it's
the
just because we joke that Catholics are nothing. The Catholic religion is a Luciferian ritual every week doesn't mean we don't love you.
The Catholic religion is the single largest Christian religion, and more faith has been destroyed by religion than anything else.
Right. I think
religious institutions have pushed more people away from faith than anything else.
Yeah. So it's I just wanted to maybe disclaimer you could call it, whatever. Right. I don't want people to think that, I think Catholics should listen to our show.
Yeah.
I mean, they may actually
Catholics do.
They may actually learn something.
That seems like the typical story of
if
a
it's
Catholic.
In the Bible, they will.
Right.
Well, the Catholics, they don't know what's in. This is stereotyping now, but by and large, compared to a run-of-the-mill Christian, Catholics they don't know what's in that Bible.
Right. They don't read it usually.
My mom, one of the sweetest women I know, is this. I'm only going to say her first name, but if you're listening, Miss Virginia, I love you. She's Catholic, and she does nothing but serves people. She brings my mom every Wednesday communion, and they have fruit together, and sometimes we talk, and we actually were talking about, ironically, Sandy Hook the last few weeks, and I'm like, look, we don't need to get into a heated debate about, the bottom line is, you guys are saved. Like, I think you're saved. But there are a lot of people that grow up, the story seems to be more, this happens to more Catholics than, I'm sure it happens to all denominations. But it's like Catherine and me. We grew up in the Catholic Church, walked out of there essentially at the age of 19, 20 going, this is meaningless to me. I don't know. I'm nowhere closer to God. Then they depart from any faith for a long time, but then they end up kind of getting sucked back in, but not back into the Catholic Church, but into the Bible. And then when I go to like Bethlehem, is it Bethany or Bethlehem? Bethlehem. And they're Belleville, is that where they are?
Yeah.
Great church. Anyone wants to know a place where people want to learn what's written in the Bible, I suggest popping in there. Warm, welcoming Pastor Aaron, rocking guy. I love the guy. Hugs you every time you see. Everyone there's
one of the most humble men I have never met. I don't know that I've ever met anyone that smart that is that humble.
Yeah.
The whole experience of like bringing a Bible to church is common pretty much everywhere except in the Catholic Church. So when I go to Catholic Church, I bring my Bible, and I'm the only one, like, I'm making notes and writing and stuff like that. And I'm getting people looking at me like,
oh, this guy's an agent.
Like, what are you doing with a Bible in church? What is your problem?
And why are you writing in it?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the blue pen all about?
Yeah.
And so you'd think Christians in general are pretty open to conspiracy theories, because if you believe that Satan is real and that he is the deceiver of the whole world, you can start to go, oh, it's not wackos that fuel these conspiracy theories. It's people that have seen the truth. They want to get it out, and we're getting little peeks behind Satan's operations here. And when you see enough of them, it finally hits you like, oh my gosh, this is organized. Like, he really has a presence on earth, just like was predicted. That's how I came to believe Jesus is real.
Actually believe in the ultimate conspiracy. It's the mother of all conspiracies.
It is. And it is buried under a lot of you can get to the bottom of that onion. That is one way to go. Or you can just have some faith and stop wasting your time reading. Some guy said it best this week. You take all the knowledge of all humanity. Jesus Christ has more knowledge than that. So if you're reading a book written by a human, you're reading 1/6 billionth.
Right.
Or you could just get it straight from the dude that can't learn anything because he already knows everything, and not waste your time with all these.
Exactly.
I still like to read lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But once you get into, you can read the Bible for 40 years and you'll still be finding out incredible nuggets. And
dude, I've been reading it for over a year, and I am finally starting to feel like I know a couple things.
Yeah. You'll reread stuff
and I
next
have to
year.
reread the same passages.
And you'll get something different out of it because it's something else happened. And you're like, And I think it's a lifelong pursuit. It really is.
Well, you guys have seen, like, when I read a Bible, I mark it up like a psych patient, and I'll put in questions in there. And then what I do is every few months I'll just flip through it and see what were the comments I was making, and I don't even realize, oh my gosh, I've gotten so much knowledge about this thing. Have you
ever found a grocery list in there?
No.
Okay, I just wondered.
Why?
I just wondered.
This is why you're in there. Maybe. I got to get some detergent.
Sometimes random things.
God, I need deodorant. Oh my God! Let me just jot that down.
No, I am.
I started hitting mine with a highlighter last year, and I actually went back and recently and looked back through, because I'll embark on a study, quote unquote, right? Like that, like the whole heaven and hell topic we were going to talk about. I was suspicious of it, and I started looking into it and highlighting. I even color-coded it. So, like, yellow was one thing, pink is whatever the highlighter kit I had.
Yeah, don't forget about the tabs.
And I put tabs to mark and actually numbered them
200
in order to like go through
Good.
it.
We'll put that to work next week.
Like
It's
200,
it's there, but I actually
impressive.
went back to.
But I do want to have Kat here for that, without a doubt.
That's fine.
Yeah, I went back to actually. I think I mentioned to you guys, like, I'm way suspicious of the whole heaven and hell thing and the way it's
In what
preached.
way? What do you mean? What suspicious in what way?
Well, I was suspicious of hell in general. And you got to be careful with a lot of, I guess you call it doctrine, but there's a lot of ministers out there that preach that you don't go to heaven when you die, and there is no hell. And there's a whole line of thought, and there are churches that preach this. Seventh-day Adventists being one of them. And I believe now, after digging into it and studying it, that they have the absolute incorrect interpretation of what the Bible says. So I was just researching this to see, all right, because really, I mean, the typical view of hell, which is, and again, I'm sorry, but it's like, the Catholic view of hell really comes from a pagan poet, Dante, right? It's not really what that is. It's more like a prison. It's more like, there's not really a clear visual of it, but the idea behind it is not what people might think. And the idea that you don't instantly go to heaven when you die, you literally go to sleep, and that you can make an argument to support this based on Scripture.
Right,
if you take it and use it incorrectly.
That's what we were talking about earlier today, which is, I tell you today you're going to be in paradise.
That's
am
one
I going to be
of
in paradise today, or am I going to be asleep?
I'm just
until
telling you this today.
We wake up to exactly.
And then that brings up the whole question about if you instantly, when you die, you instantly go one place or the other. What's the whole purpose of the eventual resurrection and judgment that time? So, and this gets into a long study, and it took me a long time to actually go through. But now that I go back and actually read the things I highlighted and go back through, a lot of that, you do get more out of it because other things I've learned since, and I kind of settled it for myself, and I get it, and I just kind of put that aside, and then went on to something else. I don't remember exactly what, but you go back and look through. Just I want to see what I highlighted, because I know I highlighted a bunch of it, and it is interesting how you can literally pick out things that work in a way that you can make it work to argue that no, there is no. You don't go to heaven. You just die and go to sleep, and then when you are resurrected, right? That's when. But that's obviously incorrect. But you can make a case for it, and very big churches do, and people make a lot of money on this. And the whole focus on the Sabbath being the most important thing in the world, which is totally also incorrect. Now, anyway. So it's just interesting that you can go back and always you forget some of the stuff you write in there.
That was what I was
stuff you highlight.
Like, I couldn't believe some of my conclusions, which I wrote, like what this meant to me, and then I date my Bibles, what period I had them. So some of the conclusions I made in the first one I went through, my understanding now is so different, because you can those 66 books in that Bible, it's an awesome messaging system, because you can remove any one book and you're not going to lose anything, because everything that's in there is repeated 5, 6, 7, 8 times across different books. It's almost like God made it knowing full well that this thing may be screwed with. And we did lose some books at the Council of Nicaea, and there have been changes made to the Bible, but the story still, you can pull out those books, but you'll still learn about creation. You'll still learn about why Jesus died, or the fact that he was coming, even if you pull like all of Isaiah out or all of Ezekiel. So it's not like you remove one piece of it and the whole thing collapses. You can remove it, and the thing will still stand. It might not have as much support as it did, because you're losing the fourth and fifth attribution to a particular idea. So there's one of the little genius mechanisms that's woven into it that, hey, Jeff, I know. Do you like the Cave Radio's new logo? They're going
Going high tech.
Going
I like
Detroit. I like it too. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll definitely. I want to get into that next week. I've already found some interesting extra biblical stuff.
Yeah.
Which is going to be, and this is why I wanted Kat, because she will have the Bible scripture.
I can see her squirming in the chair
down.
right now.
Yeah, totally.
She's probably right now going, "Oh man, if I was there, I'd
We're
be
gonna
pulling out.
We're gonna ruin
Ephesians."
her weekend.
Yeah, exactly. She's like,
so bring in.
I'd be dropping.
Bring in the sand dial or whatever those things.
right?
Are.
The time.
I got him in the car.
All right,
it was
cool.
hilarious.
She's got some scripture from like Malachi or something that.
Yeah,
she
and if
will
anyone,
verses.
anyone listening, if you want to do a really, really good, Bible study, it's one that I suggest is to just look into. Very simple: is heaven and hell real, right? And what is the state of your soul when you die? I think it's an eye-opening, but be careful because there are, as warned, right? There are a lot of false teachers out there. And they can convince you, boy, because, it happened to me, where I was convinced that hell was invented, right? And, I was like, I got to find out if this is true or not. And it actually turned out I was completely wrong, and these people they're fire-breathing liars.
Well, I think it's important, too, that when you really devote yourself to trying to find the truth, that you surround yourself with other people who know at least as much, but preferably know more than you do, are more versed in the Bible or are more versed in tradition, because I've found that to be invaluable in my quest for truth, having people who had more knowledge than me. And I caught up pretty quick.
Yeah. It helps, dude.
But it was very helpful because I don't agree with everybody. I agree with one guy most of the time. Excuse me. There's for the most part, I don't agree with everybody on everything. We've got the big picture right. We all agree on the big picture.
Yeah.
But it's the details. And you don't have to, because it hasn't changed my opinion. I don't respect any of my mentors any less because we have a slightly different version of certain inconsequential things that pertain to eternity and all that other stuff. Because, like I said, the big picture's right. But it's, you got to get in there, and you'll know you're making progress when you start to make decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't, and this is why we always caution against never listen to just one source, including us, because we make mistakes. And I like surrounding myself with people that are searching for the truth, not trying to prove that what their opinion is
right. You
got to
be open-minded, man.
Yeah.
Right, because I've changed, evolved, flip-flopped, whatever you want to call it, on so many issues. One of them, for instance, Chuck Missler. We all know Chuck Missler, one of the best teachers, in my opinion, that's out there. But he has a particular viewpoint about the identity of Babylon in the last days that I just personally don't believe. But there was a time where early on, I was finding myself just mimicking just about everything he said.
Yeah.
Right.
But then when I started to get my own knowledge, I'm like, because my view of the Babylon that's going to be destroyed in a day, it's got many.
That's Mystery Babylon.
Well, I believe we're talking about New York City in the United States. Chuck Missler's viewpoint was the actual historical city of Babylon, which is in modern-day Iraq. And his point was the city is going to be the greatest commercial city on the planet. And he goes, you guys should be thankful that Babylon is not there yet.
Okay, so he doesn't think it's even here yet.
So that's the only. Everything else is so congruent with him. I'm actually because that.
Yeah, but if he believed it was in Babylon, not the United States, then why did he move to New Zealand too?
Good question.
Good point. Yeah.
Because
he's hanging out with Cat's buddies.
Because the same thing I'm sure happens to him that happens to us. It's even like Russ Dizdar. He went out and started talking about the Bible the day after he's saved. And you learn as you go, and you change your opinions. It's what Bill Cooper did. He used to think that our government really was dealing with alien entities, But he came to realize later on in his career, no, these are demonic creatures. I was wrong. But if you're watching one of his old videos, you may be thinking Bill Cooper believes in real aliens from another.
Well, it's like, faith and truth. It's like anything else in life. It's a part of evolution, micro evolution.
Well, yeah. Be careful with that word.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, the whole idea is to continue evolving until the day you stop breathing. If you peaked in high school, you're probably not going to get it.
Yeah, like Uncle Rico. Well, it's something occurred to me when you said, and it actually wasn't just this moment, but when you say don't just take our word for it, right? Always do your own research. We make mistakes. I think what's interesting about this show especially is we don't claim to be experts on much. Now, I don't talk about what I do for a living here. If I was talking about that, absolutely I'm an expert and recognized as such. But this subject matter, we're literally students. Yeah, and I think if anyone who's listened to the show from the beginning, or if you do actually go back and listen to the podcast from the beginning to where we are now, what you're actually experiencing is our education in real time. We're actually, this is edification for us, just like it is for our limited audience. But
yeah, and we're just sharing as we go.
Exactly. So
I've always been the same way. Like, I learn more by teaching than by sitting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we don't claim to be. I'm not a biblical scholar.
Oh,
I'm a student. And what we talk about here, and we may even something we said 6 months ago, we may be like, man, this is it's different. It's not really this. I think that's one dynamic of the show that's very cool, is what you're actually, you don't have a bunch of quote unquote experts behind a mic preaching to people saying this is how it is. What you really have are a bunch of students who are learning, and you are actually experiencing our personal education in real time, and I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, and the three of us don't agree on everything.
It's impossible.
We are just sharing our experiences and what we've learned and what we want to talk about. The whole idea is to get others to engage.
Right.
If we can just get you to realize how important it is that you get interested in the subject matter we're talking about.
Yeah, if you peel open a Bible, then I am so happy.
I mean, peel open a Bible, dedicate yourself to that, turn down the radio, turn down the rabbit hole off.
Yeah.
Because that's all we're trying to get you to do, is to realize that everything is smoke and mirrors. It's all a dog and pony show. This is about your eternal soul. That's what it is.
That's one of the things that early on I had a problem in the Bible, because I'm like, all right, if the spiritual world is real and if the powers of heaven exist, why the heck? Why all the mystery? Why all the parables? Why not just come down, put on a light show for everyone, and tell them what they... And I totally get why they don't do that, because then we sort of lose our free will. I think it also causes physical damage when we're exposed to these all-light beings. Like, we can't even look into the sun without hurting our own eyes. Imagine something even brighter than that. I mean, So we won't get into the physics of that right now, but I do believe if you only look at the Bible like as a pure scholarly research, you can only go so far. You really do need what they call the Holy Spirit, whatever. I don't know how this guy works. I don't know exactly.
Well, you have to be open and receptive. You have to invite him in.
And that's where, first of all, you got to get that spirit indwelling in you first.
Well,
and that's why...
If he isn't dwelling in you, you got to get the ones out that are.
Right.
Because something is dwelling in you.
Yeah, there is something.
And I think you can still have the Holy Spirit in you and also still have...
without a doubt.
Demonize, the dark side spirits too. But I don't know if there's, you got to have more than 50%. I don't know how this works.
What's the percentage of Holy Spirit?
Actually, that's you bring that up, and I think it's important to elaborate on that. For me, Derek Prince did the best job.
What did he have to say about it?
Well, because a lot of people will claim that it's impossible for demons to have any effect on somebody who is a professed Christian. And Derek Prince had a very good way of explaining this. He said,
I'm guessing he would have said that's not the case.
Of course not, because he's, comes from the tradition. He's a deliverance minister, and I think those guys got it. I'm leaning more and more to listening to those guys.
Those are frontline soldiers in a
they're
spiritual war.
They're dialed in, man. They get it. And he basically put it like this, and he used a city as an example. He used Chicago and used actually the mayor's name, but I won't do that because I don't remember what the mayor's name is. Well, it was in the 70s, right, when he did this. So whatever.
Bailey.
It's not. Okay, you guys are good.
I'm up on my
You guys are awesome.
Roselle high five. Oh, you didn't return it. Nice.
So
Anyway.
the analogy or the comparison he made is that, in a Christian's existence, right, like us, the appointed mayor of the city, which is yourself, is the mayor of the city. But even the mayor of a city isn't necessarily in control of every single part of the city. There are areas of the city that are run by organized crime or that are corrupted by, you know what I mean? Now, granted, the mayor is the mayor, right? So we absolutely report to JC, there's no question. But we can be demonized in some ways, which is like, we all smoke cigarettes, these kind of things that are demonic in nature. Even though, the appointed mayor is Daley or Rahm Emanuel, and I'm so sorry, Chicago, I'm so sorry. But anyway, there are parts of the city, especially nowadays.
Didn't Chicago, or was it just the state of Illinois? Didn't Chicago give us Obama?
Kind of.
Illinois.
Yeah, I think actually.
You're gonna have to renounce your citizenship.
I think
he's as much from Illinois as
that doesn't
Gorbachev
matter.
is from Illinois.
Yeah,
he just
he was a senator
whatever.
there, so that's great. But I think it's a good way to explain it is because there are parts of the city that the mayor just doesn't control. It's out of his hands, and it has to do with the city's decision whether or not these things control this part, that part. To be in complete 100% control of the whole city is necessarily, it's maybe impossible.
1 minute, by the way. Now, not hold on a second.
Oh, okay.
You were leaning down when Kenny was doing his job. I think that I think you're very close to being right, maybe exactly right.
Well,
I don't know.
Derek Prince that, and I liked it. That's all. That's why I brought it up.
Derek Prince is a very credible person, and I do believe he has done a lot of deliverance, a lot of we call it. First of all, I don't like the words possession, and I don't like exorcism.
Right.
Because you're automatically thinking of little girls with heads spinning around and green goop flying out of there.
Right.
That's not how this flies. But all the rules that are talked about that for me seemed like, okay, God is against fun. I can't go out and have sex with hookers. I can't get drunk every night. I can't do drugs. I mean, what else is there to live for? So, but now that I'm understanding it, those are pathways that open you.
That's right.
And when you're in that state, or when you do that, you're basically turning your physical body over to something that's not the Holy Spirit. But if you do it enough, then it can change how you think, you act.
It does.
And I see that, and now I get it. That's why it's abusing something that's. Getting drunk once or twice is not going to send you to hell.
Right.
You get drunk every single day, and you never have clarity, and there's nothing but...
It's what you
There's
do.
a reason they called it spirits,
what
by
you
the
do
way.
while you're in that state.
I'll close with this. There's an important question that one of my mentors laid out to me early on, that as you start looking at the choices you make in life, you have to analyze those choices and ask, is it feeding my flesh or is it feeding my spirit?
Well, yeah.
Is it good for my flesh? Is it good for my spirit? Is it what my spirit wants or is it what my flesh wants?
Right.
Because one is holy and one's not so.
If anyone cares about where their soul ends up, it's pretty simple. You have to believe Jesus Christ was real. He was the Son of God. He was resurrected. And it is through belief in that and in Him that's the only way we are getting into this clean room called heaven. Because if you have even one speck, you're not getting into the clean room. There's a special process to get in, and His name is Jesus. We talk a lot about all the dark side, but if you care about saving your soul, I'd look into that. You look into taking a vacation,
like
you
today.
do some research, check it out. We're all one mistake away from eternity. So with that, Howard?
We're out down the rabbit hole. To God be the glory.
Peace,
We'll see you next
everybody.
week.